Hi, welcome to your next video. As promised, this one is going to be about making some advanced user verification routines. So go ahead and open up Visual Studio. And over on the left, click on New Project. Make sure you have Visual C++ highlighted. Click on Empty Project. And let's give this one a name. Input. Oops. I hit enter by accident. I was going to call it Input Verification. But so anyways, once it's open, right-click on Source Files, hover over the word Add, choose the item, choose New Item, and click on C++ file. Change the name to main.cpp. Now, this is going to be the last time I run through this whole setup process. So after this, just to shorten the videos, you can come back and watch one of these ones if you need to review it. But so then click on Add here. Now, just like before, we got to include IO stream, so we can input and output information to the console window. Unlike before, we're going to include a couple more files. One is called string, and the other one is called, it's the letter S and then the word stream. It stands for string stream. Those are the three we need, and like before, we're going to write in using namespace std semicolon. And we begin our main function by telling it that we're going to return an integer. It's called main, open and close parentheses, and then the next line, open some brackets and hit enter. So right off the bat, we're going to need to declare some variables that we're going to need. The first one is of type string, and this is not one of the default C variable types. It's actually just for C++, and it's an object that's defined in that include file string. But it does give C++ users a little bit more flexibility using strings. Makes it a little easier than you had to do in just straight C. So we're going to declare a string, and we'll call it user input. Now, programming convention says that a variable should start with a lowercase letter, but every word after that the first letter should be capitalized. So like on user input, we have a capital I. So then we're going to tell it that this is just some empty quotes. Then we're going to declare a floating point number. That's using the word float. And we're going to call it my float. And we're going to set that equal to 0.0. And now you can tell see how float turns up as that dark blue and string is that light blue? That's because float is one of the native C variables, whereas string is a user-defined, basically. It's an object of that string file. In a lot of other programs, one other thing I want to add here, in a lot of other programs, when you create a variable, you don't have to set it to anything. The program does that automatically, but in C, you do. If you don't set these variables to something, whatever number was in there before will still be in there. This way here, it gives you a little bit of, if you don't change the value to something that you want, some compilers will give you an error message, but it might just mess up your program if you don't set it, because you don't have no idea what's in there. So we'll set float to 0.0, and we also want another native C variable type is called I pronounce it char. It stands for character though, and that's just going to be a single letter or number or keyboard type character, and we'll call that my char, and that equals, and here you want to open up the brackets, the wiggly brackets, and we'll just put it in a 0, close the brackets, and end it with a semicolon. So one last variable type, and this one comes from that sstream include file, which is string stream. So we're going to name it string stream, because that's the variable type name, and we'll call it my stream, and we'll just put in empty quotes there. Okay. Now, there are 3 types of user input that we're interested in getting. One of them is a full sentence from the user. That is, everything they typed in from beginning to end until they hit the enter key. So, get a full sentence from the user. So this is the easiest one. What we're going to do is we're going to prompt the user, telling them what we're looking for. So C out the was that the I forgot the operator name there, but this will send out to the console, and we'll make a double quote string, and it'll say enter a sentence. End it with a colon and a space, close the quotes, and semicolon. And now we're going to call a function called getLine, all lowercase letters, open some parentheses, and we're going to say that we're using cn, and we're going to put the user input into the variable called the user input. Remember the capital I. Close the parentheses and semicolon. And now we're going to do cout, open some double quotes, you typed, colon, space, space, close the quote, and user input, input. And on here, we're going to put end line, just so it looks good next time. And that's it. That's how you get a full sentence from the user. That's easy enough. This at the end, after that during that get line command, whatever command they typed in will be in the variable user input. So now we want to get just a number. So we'll enter a comments, get a number from the user. Now, as we noticed before, you could get maybe accidentally some wrong information. So we want to make sure that we really are getting a number. So to do that, we're going to open up a while loop. Now, a while loop is going to continue looping until whatever you put in the parentheses it's going to continue looping while that statement is true. What we're going to do is kind of trick it, and we're just going to put in that it's always true, which means that this is going to loop forever. And I'll show you how we'll escape out of that in a minute. So open up some brackets and type in our prompt, which we'll write cout, and in some double quotes we'll write enter a number, colon, space, close that, and semicolon. And then we're going to do the same thing we did before. We're going to use that getLine command, cn, comma, user input, close the parentheses. So now that string is going to get the user input because we don't know what type of number it is. If we just tried to assign this directly into an integer and it wasn't, that could crash our program. So we're going to bring it in as a string first. Now we're going to make my stream become user input. And I'm not sure if I did that right. My stream equals user input. And I'm getting a little red. No operator matches, no operator equals matches this operand. Let's see. Let me try this. My stream period. Now here, I put the period and it popped up a little window that gives a bunch of options that I have. Now I'm just using the down arrow key to scroll through what options I have. Looking for something that will sounds like it will let's try that. My stream user input. So now my stream should equal user input. And we're now going to say if my stream will go into my float, and now normally we open up some brackets, but in this case, on this if statement, we're only going to do one thing. If you were going to do multiple things, you would have to open up brackets, letting the compiler know to do a bunch of things. But if it's only one, you don't need brackets. And in here, we're going to type in the word break. And remember I said that while loop is going to run forever? Well, if it hits this break statement, it will break out of that loop. That's why we didn't have to put in a conditional statement. We could just put in true. So basically we're saying when the program gets down here, it says if my stream will fit into my float, then break. If it doesn't, then continue on the next line. That next line is going to be cout, and in double quotes, we're going to put invalid number and a couple of space, close the quote, and a semicolon. And now just hit the down arrow key to and go and get rid of any extra lines to that closing quote for the while loop. And under the while loop, you're going to write cout, and in double quotes, you entered, colon, space, close the quotes, and my float, semicolon. So that while loop is going to continue looping, and it's going to prompt out, enter a number. It'll get the input using the get line, and whatever you typed in will be in the variable user input. You're going to move user input into my stream, and then you're going to try to move my stream into my float. If it does go into it, then you break out of the loop, and you go to that line below the other closing squiggly bracket there, and you type in you entered and then my float. When it gets down to if my stream goes into my float and it doesn't fit in there, then you don't do the break statement. You go to the cout statement, which says invalid number, and then it goes and runs the loop again. So it'll retype in, enter a number, and it'll get a line. And it'll keep looping that way until you type in a valid number where it can hit that break statement. And that's it for getting a number. Skip a couple lines, start another comment, and say get a character from the user. Now, again, we don't know if we're going to get the correct type of input or not, so we are going to do another while loop, and loop while true. Open some brackets, and we're going to prompt them by saying cout, enter a letter. Actually, we're going to enter a single character. Colon, space, close the bracket, and again, get line, cn, comma, user input. Just like we've done on all the other ones. Now we're going to say if user input period length length open and close parentheses equals 1, then open some brackets, my char equals user input, open the square brackets, the number 0, close the square brackets, ending semicolon. and then break, so we can break out of that loop. And after the if statement, we're going to write in cout, and in double quotes, we'll put invalid character, space, semicolon. Hit the down arrow once you end up at the closing bracket for your while loop, and hit enter, type cout, and in parentheses, you entered colon space space, close your double quotes, my char. And then we're going to write system, open parentheses, and in quotes write the word pause, and then return the 0. And that is it for our program. So go ahead and click on the run button. And assuming we have no errors, we should get... There we go. Enter a sentence. It's raining outside. You typed, it's raining outside. Enter a number. Now, we should be able to do a decimal number because we used a float instead of an integer, which would only take whole numbers. So I'm going to write 46.27. You entered 46.27, and then enter a single character. I'm going to write in KL and hit enter. Invalid character. Enter a single character, K. You entered K. Press any key to continue. All right, so you notice it looks a little sloppy there. There's where it should have some end lines so that it looks a little neater and easier to read. So I'm going to leave it to you to go and find where those go and put them in there so it looks nice and neat. I'm going to make another video for you. The next one is going to be how to write functions, and we're actually going to use this same program to do it, so you don't even really have to close out of here. All right, I'll see you in the next video.